Everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Pull Up Trade Podcast. I'm your co-host Samson Folk, and I'm now again joined by the trade that pulls up. People have been sitting in the chair that you usually occupy, saying in dulcet tones that they are not the trade that pulls up. Trevon Heath, how you doing? You are joining this podcast with the Raptors at 15-7, second in the Eastern Conference, ranked 11th on offense, fifth on defense, eighth in half-court offense. And cleaning the glass, as we always mention, their expected wins expects this team to win 56. How you doing? How you feeling
Ooh.
about Raptors basketball?
Oh, I've never been better. We lost 2 games in a row, and I didn't even like nudge a little bit. I was like, this team is just like good. No panic, no trade machine. Didn't throw that up at all. Just know that they're gonna continue to chug along, and they did that against Portland, so I'm happy.
I'm happy too. It's fun to cover a team. Topics for today, in case anybody wants to know, we will be discussing for 3 or 4 minutes the Giannis news, how it may pertain to the Raptors. We'll be discussing the change since RJ has left, Scottie Barnes superstardom, Ingram's a little bit of a dry spell, Jacoby, how the starting lineup's been since his arrival, CMB's play of late, and a little bit of Gradey talk. We have lots of information on that, Trey, like heaps and heaps. This is the
Yeah.
podcast. If you wanted to know all of the ins and outs of like the matchup data for Jacoby Walter or the hyper specifics of CMB and Gradey, this is the one. However, for all the information we have there, you and I think we have to try and piece together what's correct about this Giannis situation. So
Yeah.
I'm going to lay out the facts, and then if you know anything, you fill in the holes. So Giannis is being reported by Windy that, like, yes, he definitely asked for a trade, and then they kind of came together and were like, okay, I'm with the Bucks this year. Then that's aggregated and amended with, well, only if the Bucks are good. And then Shams comes out and is like, well, there's, it's everything's on the table. Any team could get him. Firstly, what's your sniff test on the Giannis of it all? And then secondly, do you want to be in the Giannis sweepstakes?
I think like firstly in terms of like the little trade air, like there's definitely fire there. Like you look at the Bucks roster and you're like, there's no conceivable way that they are going to contend, even with Giannis. Like in the games that he's missed, they're truly like one of the worst teams in the NBA. So they have no shot. So I think it's best for like both him and the franchise that they move on and like do right by them. He brought them a championship. They should let him pick the team that he wants to play for, honestly.
I don't think they're going to, man. I don't think there's I don't think
You're
there's a
like,
shot in hell.
no.
Well, because one, every
Yeah.
time they talk about this, they're like, do right by him. It could
Yeah.
negatively affect like future free agents. What free agents are really eyeing up the Bucks? And I know I'm saying this, Toronto, we were talking about Mamu being like one of the best ever. I get it, the irony, but free agent relations can't be that like big a deal for
Yeah.
the Bucks. And the Bucks has spent like, and you made a great joke. You're like, I would rather give credit to Giannis than the guy who traded for Drew Holiday, and that was earlier in the day, which is
Yeah.
funny, but but also they did try a lot of stuff to build
But
around him. Like they did their
the,
best. So if they want to just like get as much back as possible, I think that's more likely. Although I do like when teams send guys to where they want to go.
yeah,
I'm even like it. Yeah, go ahead.
it's nice, obviously, and like a player that good is like transcending. Like the last time they had a player that good was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and they probably aren't going to see another player as good as him in our lifetime, which is crazy to say. But I think in terms of the Raptors, I'm do not throw tomatoes at me. I am comfortable saying I do not want to be involved in this situation. Just obviously for a 1-to-1, the idea of would you trade Scottie Barnes for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Yes, 100% yes. You don't get players that good on your franchise ever. But the Raptors, I don't think are in the process of their journey to be able to trade for that major star. They still have things that they want to figure out in terms of their young guys and their overall bench. And I'm not positive that the fit is the greatest, obviously. Because if you're trading for Giannis, you're looking to immediately contend. And like the roster with like BI, Jakob. There's a definite tension within that front court. IQ is obviously the perfect player for Giannis, but I don't think that creates an instant championship. Honestly,
I honestly, I don't think IQ is the perfect player for Giannis because
what?
that's,
Just catch and shoot?
dude. But that was what it was billed as next to Scottie for however long, and like,
Uh,
and while IQ, he's definitely been on a better run. The idea of perfect, but also the point you make is a
yeah,
salient one because the if you can get Giannis without trading Scotty, then you really entertain that and think about,
of
yes, it
course.
would be hard and difficult to make that team make sense, but that's a worthy endeavor. If you're
Hmm.
trading Scotty, the idea of restructuring the whole team in the wake of that for Giannis seems like too tall a task. It seems
Yeah.
like entirely too difficult. Giannis is a guy who's played with a stretch big for what, like the last 7 years. He doesn't know what life is like next to Jakob Poeltl, and we like Jakob, and
Uh,
Jakob's good at
yeah.
stuff. Ingram, I think, is a worse fit next to Giannis than Scotty is, and I don't, I don't see it happening. I don't see it shaking out.
And
And
I
then,
don't think
hey, second seed, hey, bigger
I'm happy.
problem.
Like, I don't think we're gonna be on his list anyways. Like the Knicks obviously make sense. Humongous market. Cat is one of the greatest spacing bigs in the history of the NBA. Like it makes tons of sense for him. So I don't know if they can pull it off, but if they do, like they have a chance of being a legitimate team who can compete with OKC.
I think Brunson and Giannis are a really good fit, like a
Hmm.
really, really good fit. Josh Hart, I think is scary hours for him if he has to play next to Giannis. I think it's scary hours. But to pivot away from the listen, people want to hear us talk about Giannis for at least a
Yeah.
short amount of time. He's one of the greatest ever grab a basketball. He is so good that Scotty is currently on pace for maybe an all NBA selection, for sure all defense, for sure all
Hmm.
star. It would be his second all star selection at age 24. And the idea of comparing him to Giannis is insanity. Like, that's
Yeah.
how good Giannis is that multiple time all stars, the comparison is just ridiculous. That's how good he is. However, Scottie Barnes is on pace to be a multiple time All Star. This
Hmm.
was our belief coming into this season. We were very bullish on the fact that he was going to step back into stardom. The numbers, for anybody who wants to know the just rough box score: 20.3 points per game, 3 stocks, 1.4 steal, 1.6 blocks. He is second in the NBA in stocks behind Mikal Bridges, 5 assists, 8 rebounds, 85% from the line, 55% on twos, 41% on threes. He has been one of the best defenders in the NBA. You can go read my piece about it on raptorsrepublic.com. He has been unbelievable. Scottie Barnes, the king of Jamaica, if he plays ball there. How do you feel?
Not if when, but this yesterday is the first time I've seen a game live for this team,
Oh
and
yeah. Story time. How was it?
it was great. Like watching games live. I think always the thing that you can see the best. You can see like the defense and how it works just because of the aerial view and the amount of space that Scotty takes up and the amount of rim opportunities that teams don't even try when he's there. It doesn't translate on TV, honestly. But I would say yesterday, in terms of his overall scoring, that was probably in terms of process the best I've seen him play offensively. He's had better games where he's shot a crazy clip from three, or he's been able to bully other small players. But Portland Trailblazers have a lot of defensive talent. Donovan Clingan is literally a skyscraper coming over the help side, and he was able to navigate through that. And it wasn't necessarily him always being able to get to the rim; it was him being able to post up and get and seal smaller guys on him. And what I saw in terms of his offensive process is that he's now using his size as a space creator and allowing his mid-range touch to truly shine because he hit tons of shots in like the short mid-range area just
Yep.
simply because he can explode and separate from literally any player when he does that. And I think that's sort of the formula you're going to see if they're going to make the playoffs, if he's going to be able to be a scorer that's greater than 9 points a game. It's like how guys like Jimmy Butler kind of figured it out, playing on two, utilizing your strength and being composed and utilizing your dribble as a legitimate weapon. So I was impressed. That was one of the best performances I've seen from him.
He continues to impress me in basically every facet. I just want to look it up quick. So on his pull up twos, he's shooting 43%, just under 44%, which is fine, especially since he's gone from it being like the crutch of his shot diet to being a counter. And on catch and shoot twos, which is actually has been very important for him to beat teams that are sagging, 62%. Okay. And then obviously he's shooting, above 40% from three. This means that when teams sag, he's beating them over the top. This is what you want to be able to see. It's not the bulk of his shot diet, but it's a counter that he can go to. And the driving stuff, while the numbers are not as high as before because of how many guys on the team want to drive, at least in part, he's been very effective as a driver. He's been very effective, one of the best transition players in the league, not only as a scorer, but as an overall, like, I get grab and go. I make decisions. We benefit. He's been unbelievable. The Raptors are the best grab and go team in the NBA in terms of volume because of what Scottie's able to do. The rebounds per game climbing up has been wonderful to see. Uh, the assist to turnover, his is the best out of the non-point guards. I just think offensively, yeah, brilliant. But started off talking defense. He has been one of the best defenders in the world. Some numbers, I know these are on the broadcast every night,
Yeah.
but in case you don't listen, 30 plus blocks, 30 plus steals. He's the only NBA player doing it right now. He has two, let's say, game-saving blocks. One against Colin Sexton, the other against Denny Avdia. Had an unbelievable, I had a tweet about it, an unbelievable block on Denny earlier in the game where he stonewalled him twice and met him at the rim. He is top 10 in deflections per game. He's also one of the 25 highest rim defenders in the NBA. Okay? He contests more at the rim than basically the whole league except for 23 centers, and he's one of three guys who isn't a center who contests that many shots. He's also top 10 in miles traveled on defense. This guy is everywhere. You mentioned at the top that bird's eye view. You got to see just how much space he covers. And even we've done film rooms, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
These are the like definitive
Mhm.
playmaking stats, but he has so much more on defense where he's just playing in the lane and dissuades a drive. There's no stat for that, although I would love if there was. He does all the defensive playmaking and more. He's been, I think, probably one of the five best defenders in the NBA.
Yeah,
And if
100%.
you won't give me five, I'll fight tooth and nail. I'll fight and die like your offensive tackle
Oh,
for the
Campbell, yeah.
Patriots. Yeah, I'll fight and die to get him into the top 10, man. I like the defense. What have you made of it?
He's in the running for defensive player of the year, honestly. When you look at the Raptors roster and their defensive talent, you would say an RJ Barrett, Emmanuel quickly lineup, like, how is that good defensively? Brandon Ingram hasn't even been that good defensively, honestly. And it's because he is in, and Caitlin pointed at this, he's in multiple spaces at the exact same time because he has the length and foot speed to do so. Yesterday, Jeremy Grant has a 2-on-1. He turns around and kicks out to Monty Kamara because Scottie Barnes is at the rim. It's like those possessions you don't see on a box score, but he allowed the Raptors to get back in their base defense simply because of his presence. Teams know not to try him at the rim, which has allowed them to be more conservative in the way that they play because he can do multiple things. It's amazing.
Yep. And for people who like the advanced stats, he is top 5 in defensive win shares and top 10 in defensive box score plus minus. I I can't think of a single defensive stat that doesn't love him. And offensively, he's meeting the moment. He's been more adaptable than I think people thought. He's been more efficient than people thought, and
Mhm.
he's been almost no perfect, man. If you had told me that this is actually kind of the Scottie season that you and I were trying to project going forward, and I was like, if it's good, it looks like this. And currently, it's looking like what if it were great?
Yep.
Man, I couldn't be happier. Although the Raptors, there's a little bit of waffling going on here because there's an RJ Barrett thing. RJ
Yeah.
Barrett. Now, this is since RJ left. It also coincides with some cold shooting. So, if you want to attribute it to RJ, if you want to attribute
Mhm.
to slump, if you want to cut it down the middle or split it however you want, these are the numbers. Since RJ Barrett gets injured, the Raptors are 23rd in NBA drive points per game. They're dead last in offensive rating. They're third in defensive rating. They are the number one midi frequency team in the league, and they are 12th in points in the paint. They were fourth prior. So what RJ brought was a level of driving capacity that the team just hasn't had since. And basically what they've become without RJ is a team that, as you have said before, it's a lot of horizontal, not a lot of
Yep.
vertical. It's a whole lot of jumpers. And as we see with what's been happening with Brandon Ingram, he went from 58% midi pull up. He's now down to 51. He's 7 for his last 21. I think 12 for his last 30. It's tough to sustain that much. He was taking like 25 shots a game.
Mhm.
What have you made? Because we haven't talked about it in a while of the
Yeah.
Raptors sans RJ.
It's been an up and down experience. I think looking at like their overall offense, like his presence has extremely affected like how efficient they are. They don't get a lot of paint touches, obviously, and their main actions have been getting Brandon Ingram on a cross screen, him coming looping around in the mid range and being able to probe or hit a shot. Jacoby's been in that spot, and that changes from RJ, who you kind of have to respect as a shooter. He shot the ball well as a Raptor. To Brandon Ingram seeing like mostly two guys once he's coming across and teams really denying. He's had to hit much tougher shots, although he was hitting tougher shots like within the first like 10, 15 games, but like that has evened itself out. I think what they truly miss outside of like the him being like their play finisher and outlet in that sort of sense is what he offers off the ball. Off the ball, in those moments, Brandon was able to find him coming downhill significantly all the time. And it while Scottie has been amazing, he still leaves like points on the table with his off ball movement. And RJ is tremendous in doing so and making sure that he's constantly doing what the defense he's constantly taking what the defense is giving him. So that has obviously been a been tough to watch. Like they haven't been able to score at the same clip, but defensively, you see the jump. Like they've with like Jacoby in the lineup, they've been elite defensively just
Yep.
because they're able to play the pressing defense that they want to see. He's been elite as a isolation defender last season. He was at 85%. This season he's at 95%. It's just like that level of insertion within the lineup has been good to see, and it's kind of as a lineup I suggested in the summer, by the way. But um, and defensively, you see the impact that you can have if RJ were to come off the bench. Like the starting lineup is much more successful with Jacoby in the lineup. They're right now they're plus 19 just because the defense has just been that good. I wonder if Jacoby's 3-point shooting could hold up and allow him to play a lot more minutes. But if it does, I I don't see RJ's coming off the bench, but I do see Jacoby being that sixth guy that's like a pseudo starter in certain lineups that makes sense.
We'll do a deeper dive on Jacoby later, but those are great points you're making, and it's the path that you laid out in the summer, as you mentioned. It's been walked clearly. It's
Yeah.
gone chalk. Kind of your recommendation. It has panned out so far. The downside is like you look at the Blazers game, and the Blazers have these strong wing defenders, and they're just switching off ball actions. And the Raptors are the number one off screen team in the NBA, and Brandon Ingram is like the number two off-screen scorer in the NBA, and you have these big wings switching across things. Jacoby Walter, Grady Dick, whoever is coming off the bench, actually anyone on the team, is not able to drive those switches, but RJ Barrett would. And
Yeah.
even if RJ Barrett doesn't have the best game shooting, he's going to create a defensive response that benefits others. And that's why this team, despite I think RJ and Brandon, who represent, about 43 points per game, maybe 42, these guys are understood by some circles to be empty calorie scorers. There are
Mhm.
no empty calories on this team. It's a cohesive offensive ecosystem, and it needs a bunch of different motivators. Brandon Ingram, I want to stick with him first, and then I want to do the deep dive fully on Jacoby. So Ingram, he gets put in a position where starting out with these Raptors as the season goes, he's taking less shots. He's getting to kind of like check in and be a shot maker when needed. He's unbelievably efficient from the mid range, and he's just moving the chains for the Raptors. Then RJ goes down, and that usage starts to get massive. He's currently sitting on the season 3.7 assists to 3 turnovers. That's like hey, I'm not going to be down on Brandon Ingram. I'm happy
Yeah.
with what he's provided. I'd like more defensively. I can see the 3-point shot coming around, and I want more playmaking, but there's a couple warts here, and some of it could be driven by the fact that he's played however many games in a row for the first time in 2 years, and he's dead tired after putting up 25 points per shots per game. What have you made of Brandon as the season has churned along?
Yeah, I think it's a microcosm of just like his hierarchy on the team. Like they're asking him to hit very hard shots in order for other guys to be in better positions to score. The large majority of these shots that he's taking when he is coming off a screen are contested, and a lot of the Raptors' current solutions in the half court is a Brandon Ingram mid range shot right now because you don't have another guy that is able to drive and get downhill and get paint touches. And teams without RG's like off ball action, like teams are coming very hard at him, especially in those pinch post actions. He hasn't had the same success that they had in the beginning of the season. And with a guy that shoots like really contested shots, I think it comes and goes in sort of streaks just because of how difficult the shots are. The what he's doing for the team, while it has probably affected his overall play, has allowed guys like Scottie to come in and out of the responsibility of being the creator within a lineup, which has been beneficial for him. And you're seeing, even if Brandon Ingram isn't on the team 2-3 years ago, what the hierarchy needs to be for this team and what Scottie looks like against next to a humongous score. So I I don't have much complaints. Like the defense could be better, but offensively, he's doing what's needed.
I also think on the defense it could be better, but last time I checked, I think he was in career highs in block percentage and steal percentage, and it is tied to the Raptors moving away from the press and keeping the defensive shell a little bit closer together and just letting Ingram kind of use his size passively. And when at the start of the season they were asking him to step out above the break a lot, I thought it was hurting him a bunch. When he is near the block and kind of gets to hunt steals and just stick an arm in and be around the rim, suddenly he's far more effective. And they have to figure out like where they want guys on the court. That's part of the learning process. But he's provided a ton. It's been great to see. Also, a huge benefactor of the team having more offensive weapons was Jamal Shead. Jamal Shead, we talked about, and Lewis and I did that big podcast on it, how he basically never shoots. And
Mhm.
he doesn't even touch the paint when he drives because he's getting rid of the ball to dangerous players so often. And then when those dangerous players aren't there anymore, you have 0 of 4, 1 of 6, 1 of 6, 1 of 8 shooting. This because he's being forced to be a scorer. He no longer is in that comfy role as like a connector. Suddenly they
Mhm.
say, "Can you create for us?" And the answer is no, just like not at all. Then on the play where Brandon Ingram cuts baseline, when Scottie gets blitzed, then we're looking at connector status once again. They
Mhm.
have to be able to get offense from somewhere. The return of players is going to benefit Jamal Shead, I think, immensely, because the can you score give us buckets thing has been tough, and he's much better being able to a much smaller degree than Scottie, I think, get into games, see how he feels, find his shots. Because as you mentioned, Brandon Ingram, for any warts that come along with this game, as you mentioned, he allows Scottie to kind of check into games and find his flow, which by the time Scottie's like 27 years old, maybe he doesn't need a Brandon Ingram anymore. But
Yeah, that's true.
at 24, it's a pretty comfy spot, and he can have the game like he just had against the Blazers. He can find his way, be a huge creator, make things happen, score in a bunch of different areas. But some games he's just not going to have it, and but he'll have it on defense when he doesn't. There are young players on this team. Just talked about Jamal Shead, but there's Jacoby, there's Gradey, there's CMB. So I'm going to reiterate the stats you gave, and we'll dive in. So as you mentioned, 85th percentile in isolation defense last year. For anybody who knows, this is a synergy number, and it's points per possession allowed as the isolation defender. This year, he is 95th. Last year, he was one of the worst pick and roll ball handlers per points per possession allowed in the NBA. And you and I theorized, like, yeah, there's some screencraft stuff, but also playing possessions with Kelly Olynyk is not going to help you. And this year, he is up to 86th percentile. He's also 89th in spot ups. And players are shooting 19% from three when he's closing out. That's probably not going to hold, but they are 3 of 11 inside the arc, which means he's probably running them off the line and staying in the play. I watched some of these clips myself. That was the case. The Raptors press defense has been elite with him on the floor and basically nobody else. He is like the one guy on the roster to be able to do it. He's shooting 40% on catch and shoot triples. And as you mentioned, when you insert him in the Raptors starting lineup instead of RJ Barrett across the 62 minutes, they are plus 19 per 100 possessions. So a bunch of things are happening.
Yeah.
Jacoby, after starting off having a really tough time, he was behind the guys. He had the do
Yeah.
not play coach's decision. He was playing less minutes per game. He takes that leap. Gradey's slumping. He jumps over him. Get behind me, bro. This is your guy, Jacoby
Yeah.
Walter. He's been hooping, man.
He's doing the thing. He's done everything that they've asked for. He like the self creation obviously is not there currently. I won't lie and say that he's been a great offensive player, but the Raptors have enough offensive talent that what he provides defensively allows him to stay on the floor and they can be successful because he can hit an open jump shot. As long as that continues to happen, he could be a perfect outlet for whatever they're doing offensively and defensively. He's getting guys into later shot clocks. You can feel comfortable and confident in asking him to press and pick guys up 94 feet. And while he doesn't offer anything like when putting the ball on the floor, he also isn't a player that plays outside of himself. He's quite aware of his like limitations, which is okay as a fifth starter. And this being his second year and kind of punching up within the lineup, I think you're super happy of what you're getting from him. And if he ever figures out how to attack closeouts, that's where you go. Maybe there's some upside trajectory, but for now, like he's doing exactly what you need to be as like their fifth starter or first guy off the bench.
So you mentioned the offensive stuff. As we mentioned, the Raptors, the stuff that's showing up, part of that is like Jacoby Walter in place of RJ Barrett. And so we'll give some markers because yes, the lineup is much better with Jacoby than it was with RJ. Both are positive, but there are some markers like the Raptors are currently shooting 50% from the floor in the Jacoby minutes with that lineup. Will that hold? Probably not. They see a huge spike in mid-range frequency and a huge dip in rim frequency when you swap out RJ for Jacoby. Do you want to bet on these things going forward? You know, people would tell you some things are a little bit more dependable than others, rim frequency versus 3-point, I guess, accuracy. Yes, but the defensive markers are just much better with Jacoby on the floor. There's no way in hell Jacoby is going to remove RJ from his spot in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
But Jacoby is currently representing a nice little proof of concept for if Quickly goes, if whoever goes, if Jakob goes, and you need to reshape the lineup, whatever it looks like, just guys playing next to Scottie. I think Jacoby is giving you some proof of concept, and he's not going to boot RJ, but that's important, knowing who works. And
Yep.
Jacoby, he was the guy who was losing minutes at the start of the season with the bench lineups. He was the guy who was losing minutes with the starting lineup at times. And now it's swung back around to winning minutes. The starts to games have gone better. It's been nice to see. And any other thoughts on Jacoby Walter before we talk about the other guard off the bench? And I have some film prepared for Gradey.
Yeah, I just think the whole Jacoby's career is just a funny way of looking at how like scouting is. He got drafted as like this like offensive like dynamo. He's going to be able to run and hit all these shots. There's some creation upside. And like the defense is a question. And the defense that was questioned has been his greatest NBA strength. So it's just like it's just odd. This is how things go. And like another guy we're going to talk about, like some of the things that he didn't look like he was going to be good at. He's been good at. So, and I think he was supposed to be good at. He is not currently, but
yeah. Well, this is why you and I, we spend so much of our time when we do the prospect discussions laughing. And when we refer back to what we thought, we spend so much time laughing because yes, we watch the games and we hope to
yeah.
be right and we try. We
Mhm.
educate ourselves, we watch the tape, but sometimes you got to laugh. Karl-Anthony Towns, do we remember what the scout on him was coming out of college? That he was going to be like a transcendent defensive big man. He had no 3-point volume, none. He is now one of the greatest shooting big men of all time who does not succeed at defense in the slightest. A scout can literally just go inverse depending on
Mhm.
what a guy works on and depending on some latent abilities. I've told you that story before, or I told it to Josh. I'll tell you afterwards, but there's a Hassan Whiteside story about how they asked him to work on his legs and he just literally did like chest and arms and was like flexing in front of everybody. It was before he got cut from a team. Anyway,
Yep.
but like, yeah, just what you work on once you get to the NBA is so important. Jacoby, the defense, hell yeah. Gradey Dick. So before we get into the numbers, I'd like to get your summation of his season so far.
Yeah. Being that it's his third year, I'd still say it's disappointing. I thought he was gonna be able.
I've been disappointed. I've been disappointed.
It's just because like the on-off numbers are still good. He's impacting winning, which is
Oh
like
baby.
oh, this is cope. It's what you want to see, like it being impactful. But they drafted him to shoot the fucking ball. And he's not shooting the ball well.
There's supposed to be no piss in that ball, and it's full of piss.
Full of piss. I'm not asking him to be Concaniple. Like that, Concaniple has been out of this world. But
Yep.
offensively, a lot of the way that this roster has been built is that he's going to be able to tie a lot of lineups together because of his shooting and the way that he affects the defense with his shooting ability. The latter part has been true. The teams, they see him and say, they yell shooter. Just like me in pickup, they yell shooter and they send two on whatever they do. But his shot making ability hasn't been to the level that it needs to be. While although like the defense and the rebounding and his willingness to impact winning has been there. So if I were to grade, it's probably still a C minus just because of the expectation of being in year 3. But I haven't given up hope.
The game is about a bucket, I believe. And like Gradey, if you were shooting 39% from 3, I would be like so firmly in the B plus.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We've had comments. You can always get outflanked, by the way, because this is such a pro Gradey podcast. Like from
Yeah.
the moment, even in the lead up to the draft to now, But even like we can get outflanked by someone saying like, "Nah, you guys don't respect this scoring game." I don't know, man. Like, there's
Yeah.
always someone who likes a player more.
Yeah.
But Gradey, we've talked about how yes, he is a scorer. He can't be defined solely by his 3-point percentage,
Mhm.
but he can be defined solely by it if he's shooting 31%. Because while he is more diverse in how he can score, a huge bulk of that is supposed to be 3-point volume and
Mhm.
more difficult 3-point volume. 31%, that's not going to cut it, brother. And, you know, is that extra beef on top, the muscles? I don't know. Matt and Blake, they talked about that. I don't know. But
Mhm.
we're getting close, year 3, and I've talked about this before. A lot of the strongest like movement shooters are like multi-year or full 4-year college guys. I get it. Gradey is still pretty young for the profile of who he is as a player,
Yeah.
but you got to hit threes. And listen, Malcolm Miller, he shot the ball unbelievably well for the Raptors 905 way back in the day. He just didn't shoot it well enough in the league. You have to shoot the ball really well. That's just it. And Gradey, he can hang in the league if he shoots 35% and add stuff, but he can be something that the Raptors need right now if he shoots like 38, 39%. And the expectations of it going above that, I have 0 right now. Hey, let's just find a new normal. Anyway, this has been a lot of like negative, and we'll stay there for a little longer actually. So Synergy has Gradey at 44% on open threes. He's 57% on wide open threes and 4 of 25 on contested
Hey.
threes. So the designation for those is 10 feet of space, 6 to 10 feet, and 4 to 6 feet. 4 of 25 on contested triples. He's 12th percentile in the NBA, man. You got to hit a couple more contested threes. He's 78th percentile in wide open. He's 70th in open. He's 63rd in tightly contested. He's 12th in contested. And missing contested looks means that despite ranking well otherwise, he's 33rd percentile in catch and shoot overall. He's not shooting it. Now, if people want a frame of reference, I clipped some of what Synergy designates as this is a contested look. So for anybody who wants to know the play they're running here, this is called Shallow 77. It's a double drag where Brandon Ingram is going to come off of 2 screens, and Gradey, as the shallow cutter, is going to cut below. Sandro is going to roll and obscure the path to Gradey for the closeout. Now we're just going to run that, and look how close the defender is, Con. That's considered contested. Now we're going to show you a tightly contested 3. This is just a pick and roll between IQ and Scottie. IQ drives. There's a less than full commitment at the nail and a pivot and turn and contest. So that's Gradey hitting a contested and tightly contested 3. Was that what you thought it would be, Trey? Like the closeness of it? Did it surprise you?
Yes, because you see in a lot of the lineups that he plays in, or just we'll be discussing like the games, and we'll see 2 defenders. We'll see 2 defenders in his grill because of his level of like perceived shot talent, and you would assume that people are in his grill trying to avoid him
Yeah.
getting a shot off, but it just hasn't been the case. Like it's been tough, and I know like nothing is linear with any of these players. He can shoot 50% from 3 moving forward for the next 10 days, but he's got
He
to hit
can?
shots. He has
So
to. He gave me enough of in the first 20 games last year where I said we can't trade this kid ever, and we haven't seen that since. So
yeah.
I need something.
So, well, I'll give you something. He's shooting 66% at the rim. This is the top third of the NBA. You and I long hung around saying, not only will the shooting come around, so will the finishing at the rim. His touch is too good. Now, some of this is the fact that he has higher transition frequency now.
Yeah.
Transition looks are easier than half court looks, but he's been much better at the rim. 66%, 29 of 44. Now, he is winning more minutes than anybody else on the Raptors. How is this happening, everybody? How in the hell? Now, we can explain this by the fact that the Raptors, they shoot way more at the rim when Gradey is on the floor, not because his rim frequency is so high, but because his spacing is so ginormous that they stack him in actions so that they can draw players away from the lanes and have more wide open driving lanes. He positively affects offense in that way. It's that hard to observe live, but easy to see in the numbers thing. Now, how do they make it work defensively? I have some film. So there's something that, you and I have been talking about for a long time. The first time I ever discussed it, you can go back to 2020, the bouncing around episode with Caitlin Cooper, where myself, and Evan are talking about peel switching and how it's going to become more popular in the NBA along with nexting. Now, this is a fun little film review for everybody and audio listeners. My apologies. I'll try to be as descriptive as possible. This was a game between OKC and Golden State just the other night. Now, Shea is going to make the skip pass, and the rotation you're going to see between Moses Moody and Draymond Green is an X out. This is Draymond Green going to Moses Moody's player because he's in a better position, and Moses Moody is going to recover to Draymond's player. And if you actually look the patterns of their coverage, it makes an X. So they X out. Now, they're going to drive Moses Moody on the closeout, and Moses Moody is going to get behind the ball because he jumps at it. A lot of teams don't like to help from the strong side corner. Raptors fans hated when Nick Nurse's teams did, but there is a way to outfox this. The Golden State Warriors don't do it. So it's a wide open three for a make out of the strong side corner. Now the Raptors, they participate, especially with Gradey, in what is a peel switch. And this is how they take away the corner with helping from the strong side corner. So CMB is in the strong side corner. Gradey is above the break. They just ran a play because they wanted, or they're going to run this because they wanted to get Shaden Sharp on Gradey. Okay, so they run a screen and roll expecting Scottie and Gradey to switch, so Shaden Sharp has Gradey. Then they want to drive Gradey. Gradey tries to steal this pass, misses slightly, the ball gets driven. Not only does Scottie absorb to the ball, but so does CMB. CMB is vacating a man in the corner. Now, peel switching is all about kinetic energy. It's about making sure that you don't stop and start on the floor, really. It's just everybody's in motion, and it's harder to read the defense in motion because guys can get in passing lanes and do tons of stuff. Gradey is going to start working his way back to the corner, and guess who pops up for a steal? Gradey goes down the other end. They get a layup. This one here is the more conventional one where Peyton Pritchard gets the angle on Gradey driving. Ochai is going to step into the driving lane, and Gradey is going to peel off of him. This one covers everything. Peyton has to go up and try a contested layup at the rim, which he misses. They go out, and I'm pretty sure Gradey gets a layup here. Yeah, this is how you cover this kind of court. This is what the Raptors like to do. This one, Gradey, again, jumps a pass. CMB absorbs from the middle. Gradey peels off to the corner, and this is a bad call. Like, CMB was there. He gets called for a foul. This is good defense. This kind of stuff that the Raptors are doing, and sorry that was long-winded, but this kind of stuff that the Raptors are doing, this is how they succeed with Gradey on the floor. He can't, like Caitlin and I talked about this, Gradey has an exorbitant blow-by rate per second spectrum. Part of it is because this is schemed in. If Gradey gets beat in the slightest, what the Raptors ask him to do is not to hang in on his guy, but to shoot to the corner and have the corner man step into the lane. It's actually, the way to beat it is to have the corner man like cut the guy into crowded space, and not that many players are comfortable doing that. And there's also, of course, there's 5-on-5 concepts that you can use to beat this coverage too, but the Raptors are hanging in by having Gradey do this kind of stuff. This is just one example. They also next, and I broke down what a next rotation is in my Scottie defense piece from today. If you want to go read and look, there's an unbelievable video of Scottie performing a next and still, stopping Donovan Mitchell's driving lane and then also recovering out to block, Evan Mobley. That's a very long-winded way of saying, like, this is how Gradey can hang in on defense, and he has more steals this year because of it, and teams are having a tough time navigating it. In the playoffs, this kind of stuff might not run exactly the same way. Gradey has a lot to prove to be a guy who hangs in a defensive rotation in the playoffs, But currently, he's hanging in a very successful defensive rotation now, and some of their best defensive lineups have that white boy from Kansas doing his thing, peeling off. Trey, any thoughts on the peel switching Gradey?
You saw a lot of it it popped up a lot yesterday. It's a great utilization of his overall length because he's as a player he's very good instinctively, and he is long. So when he does peel off to the corner, it gives him the best chance to be there defensively. And even if teams cut down, the Raptors have guys like Scottie, guys like Jakob that are able to eat up that space. Scottie allows a guy like Gradey to be able to stay on the court and the Raptors to be able to run multiple things, knowing that he is going to be there as the final boss near the rim. Basically, it's just like how lucky they are in terms of what they can do defensively is like endless, honestly.
And even like beyond that, I think if Gradey does deliver on the promise that he, seems less likely now, but seemed overwhelmingly likely as the best shooting prospect from his draft class, if he
Mhm.
delivers on that promise, who would you rather have these mobile, big, badass forwards in Scottie Barnes and CMB to help protect and absorb him defensively
Yep.
and allow him to use his motion and instincts to like try and gum things up off ball into the future? Now, this is projecting so far ahead. That is the Grady Dick of it. Now there's the other end of it. Colin Murray Boyles, who had, I think, 2 really strong games that you haven't gotten to talk about yet. So the last topic for today, Colin Murray Boyles. Also, they play the Lakers.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have given that more time, but whatever. Colin Murray
Yeah.
Boyles.
Luca's not playing tomorrow, so it's whatever.
Is
Those
LeBron
Raptors, they
is
got
LeBron is LeBron scoring 10 points?
Scottie Barnes the problem. Stop. I don't know. Luca's not playing those damn Raptors. They get away with it again. But hold on.
Colin Murray Boyles. Colin Murray Boyles.
Making too many jokes. Sorry. CMB, I've been super duper impressed with. I had a tweet about like the lineup with both of them, him and Scottie and Gradey, is like what you when you drafted these guys, like a visualization of what you think this team could eventually do when all these guys are at their peak in terms of like where they are in terms of an NBA player. Like when CMB and Scottie are on the floor, defensively, they become very positionless because both of those guys can defend the perimeter. They can switch onto the other big and not be scared of a small on small like post up because
Mhm.
CMB has held his own. Def- on the glass, he has been better than I actually thought he was going to be able to do. Especially in the Knicks game, he was competing with Mitchell Robinson, who's one of the best, if not the best, offensive rebounders in the NBA, and he was able to utilize his physicality, and that from day one has always translated with him. I think defensively, those lineups with him and Gradey and Scottie were the lineups that opened up the game yesterday, just simply because Portland it was not able to score, get any dribble penetration because of both of those guys' size and length. And you see the idea if ideally Scottie's game improves enough where you're comfortable playing him as like a wing, and that
Mhm.
opens up what you can do with Colin and allows him to be a starter on the team, play tons of minutes together, and defensively, like they're absolute terror. Like his defense has been good from day one, so I'm like super impressed.
Yeah. And I imagine once he doesn't have the rookie whistle, because there's been
Yeah.
some plays where I'm like, I think he won that one. But you can even
Mhm.
see that it's starting to get a little bit more lenient as the season goes on. He's checking off 3 very important things so far this year. So similar to what Jonathan Mobo did last year, like that one for sure provable elite thing Mobo did was perimeter defense, particularly one
Mhm.
of the best switch defenders in the NBA. Switching out on pick and roll ball handlers, CMB, they're shooting 9 of 35 against him. Those are huge numbers.
Big time.
Now, that's if he wasn't a good defender coming out of the draft, I might be like, okay, let's look at some variance here. but I'm subjectively confirming my priors right now. I think he's been good stepping out on guys. He's been serviceable, middle of the pack in efficiency as a roll man, which was important for him to do. And he's shooting 65% at the rim, which is really encouraging. Not to mention, he's been a good backcourt defender when they set him to press wings and forwards and stuff like that. The only thing that I'm waiting on really, because the shot, I mean, particularly the low volume 3-point shooting has been good enough. The thing I'm waiting on, and this team doesn't have great spacing, he hasn't looked very confident driving the ball. And I think it is
Yeah.
because the team doesn't have great spacing. He doesn't really get to have a big on an island and get to drive them very often. That's something that he clearly has a very strong latent ability to do so. He was one of the best drivers in all of college basketball. I would be really excited if towards the back end of the season we start to see that, pop up in the film. So far, it's not been a strength of his, and it's easy to understand why. He's smaller at this level than he was at the other level. The guys who are helping are bigger, so bully drives aren't as effective because there's a secondary rim protector who can get an arm in there. And despite the floor being bigger in general, the Raptors don't operate with the most spacing, so there's not these huge gaps to drive. But he's been good. He's been now it's very hard to compete in this rookie class where guys have been incredible. But I think he deserves a lot of kudos for what he's been able to do. I've been happy with him, especially the last two games. I thought he was like great.
Yeah, like he's been like a winning player, which is super hard to do as a rookie. So, like some of the offensive stuff will come along just as like you see it across like any like ancillary play on the Raptors. Like their job is to insulate and do and allow the starters to get the ball. Like they play through BI, they play through Scottie and RJ even when he's in transition lineups. So I think some of them will come as just like he earns like his cachet as a player because there is opportunities where he's sealing a guy and isn't getting the ball, and that's just like the nature of being a rookie. So I'm very happy with how his rookie season's going.
He's also, I think, has a keen awareness of when he is able to finish over somebody and when he isn't. He's making good like passes out when he feels overmatched in the paint. And listen, ideally, you would have thought, you know what, he's not going to be overmatched this often. But the size is, it's why like it was the big differentiator in my analysis of like the looking back at Scottie versus CMB is like, yeah, CMB has a lot of like the ball skills that Scottie didn't have coming into the league, but Scottie's just a much bigger guy. And Scottie has more like vertical pop. And so Scottie comes in the league, he's like, I'll dunk on anybody. Come meet me at the rim, bitch. Try it. And CMB is like, I might not have it. Let me find the 3-point shooter or something like that. And one is better than the other. It's the former, but the latter is not so bad. He has to figure things out. He'll figure out his way. Long career ahead of him. Anything else on these Raptors before we get out of here and I go watch LeBron try and score 10 points against Scottie Barnes?
For anyone that was worried about losing 2 games, you're going 13 for 15 games is not so bad. It's okay for this team to lose games. They've proven 20 games is usually the threshold of when you can start judging a team. They've proven when they have games where they're supposed to win that they're going to go out and win them. So they're just a good team. I'm happy to be covering and watching a good team for the first time.
Facts. It's been a while. We've been praying on this. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you very much. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hype, all that good stuff. Prayers to Jamaica, prayers to the Philippines. If you have the means to donate, people and foundations can always use the extra help to support people on the ground. Trey, anything before we get out of here?
Jamaica is 2-0 in the FIFA World Cup qualifying. They're playing Canada next. Kofi Cockburn is going to do the unthinkable in March. I promise.
Hell yeah. That game, I hope it's in Toronto.
Oh, if it is, we got to go.
Yes, 100%. We can both, we'll paint the Jamaican flag on our faces and we'll rock out.
Who is that fella? You just jumping around with the plug.
Dude, they're gonna call me Chet Hanks probably. Chetana. Big up the whole island, massive. That's probably as good a place to end it as
Yeah.
any. Excited for Jamaican and Canadian basketball. God, we got to have a Zach Edey conversation at some point. By the way, he
We're a
makes me
problem.
excited. He makes me excited for FIBA, dude.
Yeah.
Yabusele, hit the showers, pal. No shot. You'll never embarrass us again. Never
Oh.
again on the world stage. Yeah, Edey versus Wemby is appointment viewing with Shea as a topper. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Whether you got into this in the morning or at night, from myself and Trey, have a blessed day and goodbye.